Attention! The following video may contain fun, humor, profanity, personal opinions, political incorrectness, and so on. If you are under the age of 18 or are easily offended by something as simple as gendered words, then I suggest you turn this video off and watch something more suited to you. Something like Sesame Street. Don't say I didn't warn you. G'day guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm going to be doing a bit of a how-to video, and it's also going to be an unboxing video. Now, as you know, apart from radio control cars, as you can see behind me, I've got planes, I've got helicopters, and most of my model aeroplanes are nitro or glow powered models. So I have a new engine for one of my aircraft, and it's a Saito 62 4-stroke. So what we're going to do, guys, is first we're going to have a look over on the bench, have a bit of a look at it and a bit of a rundown of it, and then we're going to take it outside to a test bench and we're going to give it its first start and break in. Alright guys, so this is the engine that I've bought. It is a Saito FA 62B. It is a 4-stroke glow engine. It's a little over 10cc roughly, and this engine is to go into my Piper Cub, which is over there. So I bought this as a replacement because I had an older cheap ASP 61 4-stroke. It was a cheap engine that I got when Hobby King were selling glow engines, and it's been giving me a little bit of grief. So I thought, rather than risk having dead sticks and damaging the model, I'll put a new engine in it and something that's a little bit more reliable. So I decided to go with the Saito 62. Now this video, apart from being an unboxing, it's going to be a tutorial. So I'm going to go through with you the procedure of breaking in a 4-stroke model aircraft engine. Now, for the record, guys, there is multiple ways of doing engine break-in for aircraft and 4-stroke engines. The people will have their own methods. I will show you mine. So what I'll do is I will put this in tripod mode and we'll have a quick look at what we get in the box. So first of all, we get the most important part, the engine. So if I can figure out where the sticky tape is, there we go. So here's the engine. So it is, as I said, it is a 4-stroke. Down here we have our camshaft, push rods and so forth, and that's where our exhaust pipe goes. So that is the engine, pretty straightforward. Now I'll put that there carefully. Now also in the box you get your exhaust pipe. It's a simple exhaust pipe. And the Saito ones are pretty good. So that's your exhaust pipe. You also get some basic tools. Now your tools will consist of some Allen keys, and you also get a small wrench there, and a feeler gauge. Now your feeler gauge is an important part of a 4-stroke. And this wrench here, the wrench and the feeler gauge are for adjusting the valves, and I will go through with that with you a little later on in the video. So those are your tools. You also get your instruction manual and some stickers. While it's in my head, guys, also you do get included with the engine a glow plug. It's already pre-installed. The needles should be factory set, although I do like to check the needles just to make sure. And also, given depending on where you live and where what the climate is, you might have to adjust that according to where you are with atmospheric temperature and pressure and so forth, and also the fuel you're running your engine on. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to head outside onto a workbench, and we're going to give this engine its first start, and I'll give you a quick rundown on first start and break in. Alright guys, so have the engine mounted to my test bench. So it's a simple clamp style test thing that I've got mounted to an old stool that's no longer used. Got my fuel tank and a simple throttle stick. Now, the reason why, if you're new to model aircraft or nitro powered engines such as this, or two-stroke cars, the reason why you break in an engine is so everything can settle in, the bearings, the piston and sleeve. However, with a four-stroke engine, things are a little bit different to, say, for instance, a car engine or your average two-stroke aircraft engine. With a four-stroke engine, they're a ringed engine. They don't have a tapered sleeve. So with the running in of the engine, you want the piston ring to be seated and to help form compression. Also, with the running in, you also want the lobes and everything on the camshaft to be settled in and so forth. And then after running in, what we'll be doing is checking the tappets with the feeler gauge. Now, Saito recommend for this engine a 12x6 minimum. Would you believe that this here is an 11.5 by 5. This is the biggest prop I have. Well, regarding small engines, the biggest prop I have. I do have some 13 by 6s, but I don't want a big prop to start it with. So I'm going to start it with this an 11.5 by 5 prop. Now, breaking in, it'll just be consisting of some a bit of idle and a little bit of throttling up and down and so forth, and we'll be doing that for a whole tank. And this is a 700cc tank for those playing at home. Now I will shut the engine off and let it cool periodically. I will do this for the full tank. Now, if you've never started a Saito engine before, they are known to be notoriously difficult to start, especially the real big ones. They've got a fair amount of compression, even when they're brand new and never been started before. So apart from a glow stick to start it, I also recommend something like this heat gun here. This heat gun will preheat the engine to about roughly 60 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. Now, when you're preheating the engine, you don't just hold it there or there. You hold it for a few seconds, for a few seconds, for a few seconds here, a few seconds there, because you don't want the metal to distort, because this side's expanding while this side's still cold and you don't want to risk cracking it. So when you're preheating it, don't just hold it in one spot, move it around, and that will actually help with the starting of the engine. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to fill it up in here, and then I'm going to take it outside, show you the preheating, and then hopefully get this thing started. Alright guys, I have the engine set up here because apart from it being cold outside, I mean here in Australia right now as I'm filming, it's in the middle of June, so it is quite cold here in Australia right now, especially where I live, and there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and I don't really want the engine to get too cold, because I do want the engine to heat cycle. So I've got it set up just in here, and so I can just blow the exhaust out the door. So what we're going to do, guys, is I'll show you how to preheat the engine, and then I'm going to set it up over there, the camera over there, and then we'll get it started. So when it's started, you won't be able to hear me speak, so what I'll do is I'll have some captions down below. So when you go to start your engine for the first time, especially this Saito engine, as I said, they can be notoriously difficult to get started because of it's just their nature. So we're going to preheat the engine. So we'll only need to do this for a few minutes, and I'll probably do this sped up, but you'll see how I do it. So it's just a case of hold it there for a few seconds, hold it there, a bit the back and the sides, just so you can keep the heat even. Now just got to wait for the element to start glowing. Yep, we've got some heat. Alright. Alright guys, so I've just preheated the engine. The engine is primed. I did most of it off camera just because it's going to take a while. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it up over there, and I will, well, hopefully she'll start for the first time. Okay, here we go. Just like that, guys. Alright guys, so I just stopped the engine and the cops are after me. No, this is normal for where I live. Anyway, I've just stopped the engine now. So what I'm doing, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is just let the engine cool for a few minutes, then I'll start it again, and I'm going to do this for the rest of the tank of fuel. So it's used, you know, I didn't have a full tank, but because that's all the fuel I had left, so I'm gonna have to make some more. Now if you noticed through that first start and run, well, you can see there's a whole heap of oil around here. That is completely normal, guys. Don't worry about that, because what that is underneath here you've got a little crankcase vent, and the whole idea of that crankcase vent is to ease pressure. There's fuel pressure, because you got not only just lubricate everything in here, but you got to lubricate the camshaft and the push rods and everything. So that bit of excess fuel or oil that isn't burnt can't go anywhere, and it'll just keep building up and building up pressure. So it's got to go somewhere, so it just comes out that little crankcase vent right there. So when you get one of these guys, don't panic. It is perfectly normal for a 4-stroke engine to do that, so don't worry. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to continue running this off camera, and then you'll see it at the last bit of fuel. I'll start filming it again, and then I will do a bit of a summary. Alright guys, not sure if you can hear me at the moment. So what we're doing now is I'm running it again. Been running it for a little bit. I have leaned off the mixture a little bit, not a lot, but as you can see there's still lots of oil coming out from the crankcase vent, which is good. It means everything's nice and lubricated. I'm running it at a little bit higher RPM just so everything can settle in and break in. There's not a lot of fuel left at the moment, probably about an eighth of the tank, which is more than adequate for this. So what we're doing is just going up and down through the RPM range, just so that the engine can get used to doing that. Normally an engine like an aircraft engine will stay at a certain RPM, so you'll run it like this, and you might run it a little bit lower, then a bit higher, just so it gets used to it. So what I'll do is I'll increase the RPM a little bit more and hold it there for a little bit, and then bring it down. Just humming away there at a nice steady pace. So it's about a fast idle speed. We'll just check what you'll want to do. If you don't have a temperature gun with you on hand, just feel the engine. The engine's not hot, the engine's not cold. You'll get a bit of a false feel as you've got the wind from the propeller blowing on the engine, but the engine is not hot.
what we'll do now is we'll bring the RPM up. As you can see, guys, the fuel's starting to get low in the tank, and you'll want to keep an eye on this too, because the lower the fuel gets, it will start to lean itself out towards the end. You don't really want to do that with a brand new engine, so keep an eye on the fuel level. Alright guys, so we're getting close to the end of the fuel. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be keeping an eye on it, because I don't want the engine to run dry. So when you hear the RPM start to raise up towards the end, we'll shut the engine off because it's starting to lean itself out. Alright guys, I'm just getting ready. So you should be able to hear the RPM start to climb. The throttle hasn't changed. Alright, so as you heard there guys, the RPM just started to climb up, and I don't know if you can see it through the fuel tubing. You can see all the air bubbles. So it was just starting to run out of fuel. So that's why I didn't want to run it dry in the engine. I still want there to be significant lubrication. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a two-part series, and I'll have it in the title. So part one here, so it'll just be the bench running. So I've run probably about 600 milliliters of fuel through it right now on the bench, but the braking isn't completed. So the initial running on the bench is done. In part two, what we're going to do is I'll have it installed in the model, and I'll have the engine tuned where it's still slightly rich but enough to make power and fly. So that's the end of this video guys. If you've liked this video, don't hesitate to give it a like, and stay tuned for part two, where we will start to fly the model with the new engine.